Good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of Chew. Today, hope you're feeling grand and all's well in your world. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to A&Q Wednesday. Let's get to question one today, shall we? Yes. So, question one today is, if you couldn't use the Marshall Guv'nor distortion pedal, what other distortion pedal would you choose? Easy. Boss DS2. In all fairness, I'm using the DS2 more than the Guv'nor these days. The entire intro jam today was the DS2. I'm going more towards the DS2 because it's a different sound altogether. With the mid boost kind of function on, the mode 2 that kind of like bumps up the mids in that really kind of honky way. I like it. It's got different, like, the Guv'nor is, you know, still one of my favourite distortion pedals, but like it is definitely on par with the DS2. They're the same thing. But the Guv'nor's more kind of like that classic rock tone that everyone's used to hearing. You know what I mean? It's AC/DC. It's that classic rock tone. You know, the Guv'nor is that. It's perfect. You know, it sounds amazing. You know, it's my Mike McCready pedal, and it's just that good classic rock tone. Whereas the DS2 is really different. You know what I mean? It's not just John Frusciante and Kurt Cobain and Prince. It's got its own little voice that I've never heard any other pedal sound like. You know what I mean? It really does sound unique. It's a really, you know, to me, out of all the pedals I've probably got on my pedal board, obviously bar stuff like the Metal 9 and stuff like that, distortion wise and overdrive wise, I really feel the DS2 is probably like one of the most unique distortion pedals ever made. It's one of the reasons, you know, I obviously love it because of John Frusciante. You know, initially that's the guy who got me into the DS2. Funny enough, I thought originally it was the DS1. And I remember going to a guitar show in Birmingham, at NEC in Birmingham, and buying a DS1 and going, I've got the pedal, because I just saw an orange pedal. I just thought it was the DS1, and I'd read somewhere that it was a DS1. And again, back in the day, you know, this is all you had. It was a magazine there. It was that kind of thing. But I should have listened to the initial magazine that I read that said it was a DS2, but I didn't think, because I'm stupid. But nothing changes. But I bought a DS1 and I was like, oh, this is going to be so cool now. I can get that kind of John Frusciante off the map kind of lead tone. And then it didn't work. And I was like, why is that then? Because I remember seeing the DS1 on his pedal board at the time, but it wasn't weird. I didn't know that was just for his Gretsch and it was going through the Fender. It wasn't going through the Marshalls. It wasn't his main distortion. It was the DS2. And I was like, why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it sound right? And eventually flogged the DS1 after many, many years of just it being in a box. Because I got the DS2 and then all of a sudden it made sense. And the DS2 has been a mainstay of my pedal board since about 2005. There was a brief period where it came off. I replaced it with the Fux Fuzz by Tone City. But the DS2 immediately, you know, it didn't take long for it to go back on. You know, and in all fairness, my DS2, like I said, I've had it on my board. It would have been 2005, so, you know, it's been on there. But did I get it in 2004? I'm trying to remember. No, I want to go in 2004, because 2004 is when I got the DS1. So, yeah, 2005 is when I got the DS2. And it's been there ever since. You know, I've used it in many different ways. I've used, when I first got it, when I was in my pop punk band, I used it in mode 1. I didn't use it in mode 2. I used it in mode 1 because it suited that, well, what I thought suited the band sound a bit more at the time. But as soon as I kind of clicked it over to mode 2, I kind of never really went back. And mode 1's good, but I don't like it as much as mode 2. Mode 2 just works for me. There's just something in that, and it achieves that sound that I'm always talking about of like the electric violin. You know, especially when you go on to like neck pickup on your guitar. Especially a Strat with single coil. If you go to the neck pickup with a DS2 on and the jackhammer on, giving it a kind of like dirty clean, and then it just violins, it sings, and it's so smooth and warm and gorgeous. Yeah, it's still got cut, and I like that. The problem with the Guv'nor, what I find sometimes with the Guv'nor, is the Guv'nor doesn't cut sometimes. I mean, it's quite, you know, it's a very cutting thing, but because it's a big sound, the Guv'nor's a big sound. Sometimes it can kind of get lost in the mix, so to say. Whereas the DS2 retains that sound, but it's a little thinner than the Guv'nor. The Guv'nor's like that, and the DS2s are like that. So it's a little bit of a thinner sound. It has a little bit more cut. I can't speak. But yeah, very easy question to answer that one for me. It'd definitely be the DS2. And in all fairness, like I said, I am using a DS2 a lot more than I am using the Guv'nor these days. It's not that the Guv'nor's fallen out of favour, because I still love the Guv'nor and I still use it. And but there's just something about the DS2 that it's pulling me. You know what I mean? There's certain points in kind of, I think, in your kind of musical playing life, career, whatever you want to call it, where certain things pull you in different directions, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but you have to let it pull you to know. So the DS2's pulling me. It's been pulling on me for about 4 years massively now, maybe even 5. It's been kind of like wanting me to be my, you know, to the point where I'm almost tempted to remove the Guv'nor from my pedal boards just so I can't use it. Just so I literally just use the DS2 for distortion. I don't know how I would get on with that one, but that's kind of where that's where my brain's kind of going at this point in time. It almost feels, I don't want to lose the Guv'nor off my pedal board, but that's my kind of creature of habit side. Whereas this pull, this thing, is literally like someone's got hold of me, is like pulling me in the direction. Is going, lose the Guv'nor for a while and just focus on the DS2. So I don't know really where we're going to go with that one, because I do love the DS2. I love its sound. It's really unique to me. It doesn't sound... And I've used it so much in recordings as well. I mean, every song I record, near enough, is the DS2. You know, there's so many songs out of the 90 or 92, whatever songs I've written that are on YouTube and on my Bandcamp. Most of them have a DS2 over the Guv'nor. You know, there are obviously songs with the Guv'nor, but I don't know. It's a pull, but it's kind of like it's fighting my creature of habit mode at this point in time, where I'm like, do I want to lose the Guv'nor, or do I just leave the Guv'nor where it is and just not use it as much, or what do I do? You know, because having the Guv'nor there does make me go, I kind of want to use it because it's there. If it's not there, I can't use it. If that makes any sense, and that's kind of what this is telling me. You know, that's what kind of the music is kind of telling me to do. Is kind of like, you know, you need to be using this pedal. You know, as much as you love that one, this is the one that we want you to be using right now. So I don't know where I'm going to go with that one, PeopleTube. It's a bit bizarre at this point in time, but that's where my brain is. It's a bit of a strange one, but I love the DS2 so much. I mean, I really do. It's one of those pedals that I can't live without. I've realised that. You know, much in the same way I don't like to live without my Zoom or the Jackhammer, or, you know, like, you know, a wah-wah pedal or whatever, my Vox wah or whatever. The DS2 is one of those pedals that I can't live without now. It's just literally it feels such a part of me that the concept of not having that pedal is just kind of weird. I remember, like, when I was thinking of putting a small pedal board together just for certain gigs and whatnot, and I was just using the HX. I mean, it was the pedal board I was using when I was in Duke's Deludo. I was using HX and the Vox Silvertop Wah. I didn't have the DS2, and it's like a void. I'm sure some of us have experienced this, but when you're playing and you don't have something you want, or you're pulled to, or you kind of like, you know, that sound, when it's not there, it is like as a void. It's like you're missing something. It's like, you know, there's something's not right. And that's the way it always felt with just the HX and the Vox Wah. It always, like, there's something missing. As soon as I went back to my bigger pedal board with the DS2 and went away from the smaller boards, I was like, there you go. That's what it is. That's what's missing. It's that DS2 sound. And I love the DS2 because, like I say, especially in mode 2, it's got a real honk. It's like someone's got all of its nose, but it's really pleasant. You know what I mean? It's not honky honk. It's different, and the difference of it, that the different tonality that it has, that's what's making me really go, I kind of want that to be my main distortion sound, because it's different. If that makes any sense. I mean, I know it's a bit of a weird thing to say, but that is literally where I'm kind of like falling at this point in time. Is kind of like, that's where it's pretty much where my brain's taking me. Is like, I want. Well, not my brain, the music, the sound that's kind of developing. It wants that. It doesn't want the Guv'nor. I mean, that sounds harsh towards the Guv'nor, But, you know, at the end of the day, we are just puppets to music. You know, that's what we are. We're marionettes. We do what it tells us to do and what it wants, you know, and that's the purpose of it. So, I don't know. I mean, I might experiment with that today, actually, and see where I go with that, because I don't know. I just don't know. It's a funny pull. It's a very funny pull, people with Tube, that I've got towards the DS2 right now. It really is like music's just telling me, it's like, that's what you use. And it's like, it's not nasty. It feels right. But at the same time, my creature of habit side, the one that fears change, is like, what without the Guv'nor? I can't, you know. And it's like, it's proven time and time again that if I take the Guv'nor away and have the DS2, I'm happy. And if I take the DS2 away, I'm not happy. It's bizarre. You know what I mean? So, like I say, when I was using just the HX effects and my Vox Silvertop, I didn't miss the Guv'nor. I missed the DS2. When I don't have a pedal board with a Guv'nor on it, I don't miss it. But as soon as I have a pedal board without a DS2 on it, it's like a void. So it's, you know what I mean? It's right. You know, music is right. It's always right. It always knows better than we do. So it's that thing of like, I need to just submit to that and go for that change. It's a scary change though, because I'm like, what do I do? You know, I'm not used to that. I'm not used to not having that pedal. So it is a bit weird for me. But at the same time, it makes so much sense. You know, because like I say, it's the only pedal that if I don't have it, it's a void. It's wrong. It feels, what the hell's going on? I'm missing a limb here. It's weird. So, you know, it's definitely that pedal that I can't really live without. It's one of those desert island pedals of the DS2 for me. So, I don't know. I mean, I might just get rid of the Guv'nor for a while and just see how we get on and go from there. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very funny thing. Fighting your creature of habit with fighting the creature of habit with knowing what you should be doing is difficult. Especially for me, it's a balancing act. Anyway, I'm going to move on because I'm going to talk about that forever if I'm not careful. So I'm going to move on to question 2 now. So I hope I answered the question. Question 2 today is, do you think tremolo block size makes a difference in tone and sustain? No. I don't think tremolo block size has anything to do with tone or sustain, me personally. I do think tremolo block material makes a difference to tone. Not necessarily sustain, but definitely tone. For instance, like, Mr. White here, he's got a zinc block. It's a zinc block. It's not steel. And I've always found them to be a darker tone. Steel blocks, like on the original Stratocasters, steel block tremolos, I find add brightness. They had a bit of a zing to it. And with the Chapman guitars have that brass block, and that adds even more zing, but in a different way. It's more of a kind of like, I feel steel blocks add kind of like a more kind of low treble. It's not high treble, it's definitely not mid. It's kind of like a low treble. They add the kind of like a sparkly nature to the sound, steel blocks. Whereas brass seems to add a high mid, more Telecaster kind of tonality. Whereas the zinc blocks, I think, are more low mids. There's no bass, but there's definitely more low mids. And some of those really kind of cheap, skinny block tremolos that you get on cheap guitars, you know, like some of the cheap guitars, like Encore or something like that, or Squire, you know, the Squire blocks that are really skinny. I think they don't really do much tonally to alter the sound of a guitar, because there's nothing really there. If that makes any sense. I think more of that kind of comes down to the guitar, pickups more than anything. But full-size tremolos, I think they do. I mean, in my experience from what I hear, they do change the tonality of the guitar. Like I said, with steel blocks, brass blocks, and the zinc alloy blocks, there is a difference in tone. I don't feel sustain suffers ever. With difference in blocks, I've never really had that with any guitar, even some of my cheap guitars that like cost me like 40, 50 quid. With the real skinny, cheap tremolo blocks, I don't feel I'm lacking in sustain with those guitars. You know what I mean? Even on a clean sound, I never feel like I'm lacking in sustain on those guitars. So that never really bothers me. So yeah, that's not really an issue. But I do find that, like I say, brass is kind of like a high mid. Steel is kind of like a kind of like a treble, but not a high treble. It's kind of like a low treble. It's like a it's a sparkle, but it's not harsh. And zinc is the zinc blocks, like in Mr. White here. They're kind of like a darker kind of low mid. They had kind of like a different kind of a tonality. But I don't feel sustain is ever hindered by that. It's like with saddles and whatnot. I don't really feel as much in that either. But that's me. I'm sure a lot of people experience different things differently, and that's totally cool. But this is my experience. Skinny zinc blocks, I don't really feel do much. I mean, in all fairness, as skinny blocks on tremolo on guitars, I try not to use them just because I've broken them in the past. You know, they're very flimsy, and too much kind of cranking on these cheapo tremolo blocks can break them. I've still got one that I broke actually. It's in there. I can't get to it at this point in time, but it's just this cheapo. It came on a Hondo guitar that I had, but I painted to look like Eddie Van Halen's. I eventually changed the tremolo out on it, but I've got the original in there, and the tremolo block broke basically. The zinc broke away because it's quite fragile. Same in Mr. White here. The frets have gone. The frets went years ago on Mr. White, so I can pull the tremolo arm out. You know, you can kind of see it's very gunky, and it just goes in. You know what I mean? And there's so much kind of the remnants of kind of like tape and God knows what else in that hole that the tremolo doesn't really, won't fall out. You know, there's so much gunk in there that it just holds it. But that's another thing with zinc blocks as well. Is like the frets tend to go eventually, and a lot of people at that point would probably change the tremolo. But it's like, stick a bit of tape around it, jam it back in, job's a good one. That's what I did. Steel blocks and well, more and more so these days, kind of like with certain tremolo blocks, you don't have them threaded. You just have that kind of little grub screw, which is, in all fairness, a better idea than having it threaded. Or you can have those ones that just kind of like on the Squier vintage modifiers where it just clicks in on the Jags and stuff like that, where it just clicks, and that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I don't really feel there's any difference in sustain, but tone definitely. Steel blocks, brass blocks, zinc alloys, thickness of the block as well. They all make a difference. I think they do definitely. I don't understand the logic of that one. I don't understand the science behind that, but to me, to my ear, that's what I felt and heard going from different guitars with different block material. Like I say, the Chapmans to me have more Telecaster-esque kind of thing, whereas my guitars with steel blocks, like the Oswalds, for instance, have got steel blocks, but they've got a bit more of a presence to them. That's it, presence. It's not treble, it's like a presence. And my zinc block guitars, like Mr. White here, and do I have any others? I think I've got a few. Yeah, I've got most of my cheap guitars are zinc alloy. They're a little bit darker, not bass, but definitely in the mids kind of thing. But yeah, so that's my experience. Right. People Tube, this question goes to you as well. So in tremolo block size, do you feel there's a difference in what they're made out of size? Is there a difference in tone, sustain? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let us know what you experience. Okay, so I'm going to move on to question 3 now. Okay, question 3 today is, we talk about amps a lot, but how much should we talk about cabs? Are they just boxes, or do you lose or gain tone from a cab? Good point. Good question, in all honesty. Yeah, because, an amp is only as good as its speaker, in my opinion. A cabinet definitely can enhance sound, definitely. But I think the speakers are the most important part of an amplifier. Because when I got the orange CR120, sorry about my phone, when I got the CR120 and that my orange cab had the Voice of the World speakers in it, yes, it sounded good, but I never liked it. As soon as I plugged my orange into this cab, the world came to life. That amp came to life, should we say. I was like, that makes so much more sense to me. And so much so, I mean, I don't have the Voice of the World speakers anymore. I got rid of them because I just don't like them. It's the same as I had a Marshall AX cab as well a while back, well, a long time ago now. and it had vintage 25 watt greenback speakers in it. I didn't like them either, which was annoying because I always wanted an AX cab, and when I finally got an AX cab, I didn't like the speakers. I mean, I could have changed it and kept the cab, but I just thought it'd be easy just to flog it. And in all fairness, like I say, this is my magical cab. This is the cab that if I had to sell every other Marshall cab, including my first ever Marshall cab, this is the one I would keep. Because this literally is the best sounding cabinet I've ever played through. Nothing against all my other cabs. My other cabs sound great. They really do. But this one, I'm yet to find a cabinet that I love more than this one. And it's a JCM 900 cab that I bought from Old Hat for about 100 quid. I think it was about that. It was in a bit better condition when I got it. All the Tolex rips weren't there. That's me smashing a guitar into it. But I've done so many gigs with this cab, and in all fairness, this is the cab that I want to do every gig with. It's nothing against the orange cab or the other Marshall cabs or whatever other cabs I've got, like the Bareface stuff, but this one is just my happy place. And no matter what amp I've ever run through it, there's a lot of amps running through this cabinet. No matter what amps I run through it, it always sounds good, and I love it. And personally, I don't know if it's to do with the construction. Personally, like I say, talking about cabs, are they just boxes? I don't actually know personally, because what I think more over like the cabinet construction and stuff like that is the speakers. They're what make or break a guitar amp / cab, or combo, if you will. To me, it's the speakers. Like I said, these Celestion G1275s in this cab are my favourite speaker of all time. They just, to me, having tried vintage 30s, greenback 25s, the original, the speakers in the 1968 Marshall cab I've got downstairs, the red cab, they're amazing as well. They're the original old speakers, the Roller Celestions. But these ones just beat every speaker hands down, and this cab beats every cab hands down. And it's just, this has been behind me at so many gigs, and when I record the Trio album, this will be the cab I'll use. This is what I'll be using. I do want to use different amps as well. I want to kind of like use I want to use my the Fender Deluxe Reverb, Tone Master. I want to use my Vox. I'm obviously the CR120 is going to be the main amp when I record the Trio album, but I'm going to be using the MGs. I'm going to use as many amps as I can just to get different tonalities. I don't want everything just to sound the same, you know what I mean? I want different sounds, and I'm going to use different things. But cabinet-wise, this is the cab I'm going to use. It might be a bit of an awkward thing to get where we're going to go, but hopefully if we can get there. But this is the sound I want to use. Dukes Deluder's album, Midnight of the Lodestone, which you can see up on the wall there. That album was recorded using the CR120 only. I only used the CR120 on that album and this cab. Although I did have the orange cab there, I didn't eventually use it. I used this cab instead because it had the Voice of the World speakers, and I didn't like it. So I eventually used this thing, and it just sounded better. Yeah, I just prefer these speakers, and I think that's more important than kind of like cabinet thing, because I've got Marshall MG cabs that are made out of plywood, just particle board basically. They're not even plywood. They're just kind of like whatever, and I think they sound amazing. And I don't think it's because of like they're not wood, because this will be, I don't know what this will be, but I think it's more down to with speakers. The Marshall MG speakers, the old ones that I got when I first got the MG in 2004, the speakers in those cabs sound immense to me. And actually, in my orange cabinet at this point in time, the one you heard in the intro jam or whatnot, it's a 2x12. I've got 2 speakers in it, 2 are taken out. And the 2 speakers in that cabinet are Marshall MG speakers, old Marshall MG speakers. And they just sound immense. They just sound absolutely immense, especially with the CR120. But every amp I've got sounds best through this cab. So in all fairness, if I had to get rid of all my cabinets, this is the one I would keep. And I'd be very happy with that. I do apologise about my phone again. But yeah, I reckon speakers are the most important part when it comes down to an amp. An amp, you know, you can have the best amp in the world, but if you've got a naff speaker, the amp's going to sound naff. But if you've got a really good amp and a really good speaker, jobs are good. And I don't necessarily feel it matters what the cabinet's made out of. Like, say, my MG cabs are made out of MDF and they sound amazing. You know, I love the sound of those cabinets. I really do. You know, my first ever Marshall cab, the angled cab, and my second Marshall cab that sat there, the B cab, I've done so many gigs with those two. You know what I mean? The angled cab was my main cab when I first got it, and then I got the B cab, and then that was my main cab. And then when I found this one, this is all I kind of used until I got the orange. And in all fairness, then I still kept going back to this thing. Because this is just like I said, I just call it my magic cab, because it is. It just sounds immense, and I love it. I love how you can split it to stereo. I love the fact it's got all ohmage coverage. You can do 4, 8, and 16, so you're not ever worried. I'm not worried about power worries either, because they're 475 watt speakers. I don't have to worry about running 100 watt amps into it. You know, I'm going, what about the ohmage? I can cover it. You know what I mean? No matter what, I've got it covered with this cab, and it sounds the bee's knees. And I love it to bits, and it just beats every cab I've got. It really does, hands down as well. It's not even kind of like slightly better. It just is the best that I've got, and I just love it. It's just incrediable. But I do think personally it's more about speakers than what a cab is made out of. I do think, because the thing is as well, it's like my MG cabs, they're not real wood, and loads of people say, oh, they warp and they go funny and this, that and the other. I've had mine since 2004, and they've been gigged outside, they've been rained on, they've been left in a cold, damp van overnight. They've had everything thrown at them and more, and they've been battered and beaten, and they're still great, and they still work, and they're still perfect. You know what I mean? They still sound like beasts. So I'm not really 100% sure. You know, I can imagine if they got rained on and water got into them, yeah, they will warp. But you know, mine are just, they work. You know, they work. And I say, I love them. I really do. But I don't know. I mean, I have seen old Marshall cabs, the MDF ones, like the MGs, that are kind of spongy. You can press them because they've got waterlogged and they bow. But that's basically just because that wasn't looked after. You know what I mean? That's not good enough. I've got a story for you, actually, people with YouTube, so bear with me on this one. My friend Gaz, who fixes all my amps and stuff, told me a story of a guy who bought an amp into repaired for him. It was an old Marshall Plexi. And he goes, I don't know what happened, it just stopped working. And Gaz was like, okay. Anyway, so he bought it around, and Gaz took the amp to pieces, and he said the whole box moved. The head box moved. And the whole chassis was rusted out. Just rusted out. And he was like, what the hell? So he rang the guy. He says, where do you keep this? And he goes, oh, in a shed. And he goes, well, has it got a roof? And he goes, no. It's got a cover over it, though. Episode 1 of how not to keep your amps. Don't put them in a shed with no roof where they're going to get rained on just because it's got a leather amp cover. It's not going to protect it. Yeah. Anyway, that happened. Anyway, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's all comes down to respecting your gear. Your gear can take a pummeling. It really can. But you still need to respect it and look after it. I've met a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of us have as people as well, people with YouTube, who take their gear for granted and just abuse it. And that, to me, I cannot stand it. You know what I mean? There is certain things you can do to your guitars and amps and pedals where you can beat on your guitar, you can push your amp around, you can stamp on your pedals, but at the end of the day you need to take care of them regardless for them to keep working. You know, it's all about, there's a mutual respect there. You got to respect your gear. If you respect your gear, it will respect you. It can take abuse, definitely, but not stupid abuse. You know what I mean? You don't want to be kind of like treating it like it's immortal. You know, things aren't immortal. They can take a beating, much in the same way we can. But, you've got to be switched on to it. You know what I mean? I beat up my guitars. I stamp on my pedals. I put my guitar into my amp and slide it about the place, and they tend to get a bit beaten up. But I'm not doing that because I want to break something or I don't respect it. I'm doing it because that's event for me. You know what I mean? And the guitar catches it more than the amp or the pedals. I feel it really does. I mean, Mr. White's got some right dings on him. If he was nitrocellulose, I'd be very curious to what he'd actually look like. But he's poly, so he doesn't relic too much. He won't wear. But my first ever Oswald, which for some reason at this point in time is my main guitar. I'm just drawn that way. You know, I'm pulled towards my first ever Oswald more than any other guitar at this point in time. It's just what music wants. That's where it wants me to be right now, and I'm not going to argue with that. That is absolutely getting beaten up. Something rotten. The nitro on that thing, it's really starting to go, and it looks cool. I love it to bits. And that guitar does get a beating. It really does. But at the same time of it doing that, I respect it. I'm not taking it for granted. You know what I mean? I still love that guitar, and I still look after it, and I still clean it. It gets beaten up, and I play on it every now and again, and it'll get smashed up because I'll hit it and stuff like that. I don't smash the guitar. I'm not Kurt Cobain. But it'll get beaten on, but I still love it, and I'll still look after it afterwards. You know what I mean? Like after a rehearsal or a gig or something, I'll still clean it and make sure it's all okay. You know what I mean? Heat of the moment stuff can get you carried away. But anyway, I'm going to move on from that because I'm going to tangent off. Speakers, I feel, are more important. People of the Tube, what do you think? Again, another question for you out there. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think cabinets make a difference, or speakers, or what? What is it? What do you think makes a difference? Because, like I say, to me, it's more about speakers. You can have a great amp, but if your speaker's naff, the amp's going to sound naff. If you got a great amp and you got a great speaker, you can't really go wrong. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. So anyway, so I hope that's a question. Gonna move on to 5 question of the day now. People to question 4. So question 4 is: have you played much of Johnny Winter? Yes, I'm a big Johnny Winter fan. I wouldn't say he's much of an influence on me, but I love Johnny Winter. Man was an absolute monster on guitar. G-ma. I don't even a word, but you know what I mean. He was a demon, Johnny Winter was. He was amazing. And I love his music. I love his voice. I love his guitar playing. I love his tone. Man was amazing. He kind of gets overlooked a lot, unfortunately, as well. Johnny Winter does, and I don't know. I don't really know why. Because he was it's just a stunning guitar player. One of my favourite songs of Johnny Winter's is "Still Alive and Well." It's just my god, riff, song, awesome. He was just a demon. Yeah, I used to know a lot of Johnny Winter songs. I don't remember many of them anymore. We used to cover Jumpin' Jack Flash in the trio, but we used to do Johnny Winter's version. We didn't do the Rolling Stones version because I like Johnny Winter's version more. That's me. But yeah, I love Johnny Winter. He's just an absolute demon blues rock guitarist. Slide playing as well. My god, there's not many better rock blues slide guitarists out there than Johnny Winter. There's not many better blues rock guitarist than Johnny Winter, to be honest with you. He's an absolute demon. But yeah, amazing. Amazing guitarist. You also asked, what do you think of Firebirds, talking about Johnny Winter. I really love Firebirds. In all fairness, I really want a reverse Firebird. I remember when I worked in Old Hat, because I always wanted a white one, because white being my favourite colour of guitar. I remember when I worked in Old Hat, there was a Firebird hung up in our, in kind of like this, well, it was kind of like we had like a little section for commissions where people would bring their guitars in. We would display it for them and we would sell it for them. And there was a white Firebird, Gibson Firebird, and I remember it was hung there for ages and ages, and I would play it quite a lot. I think I demoed it actually. I'm pretty sure I've got a video of me playing it. I don't know what I said about it in the video. Maybe I didn't like it in the video. I don't know, but. In all fairness, in Old Hat, we had the white one. We also had a sunburst one. And I actually did a little tribute for Johnny Winter. When Johnny Winter died, I did a tribute for him, a blues thing, on the sunburst Firebird through a Music Man amp, cranked to the teeth. And it just has that Johnny Winter sound, because Johnny always used to use the neck pickup as well. He very rarely used the bridge pickup, but yeah, but I remember this white Firebird just hung there, and I was just like, I just love them. I mean, I like non-reverse Firebirds, but the reverse Firebird, because of people like Johnny Winter, just look cool, especially white ones. You know, Johnny had a white one and a sunburst one. I think he used the sunburst one more. And then he had that weird headless guitar, but I don't know if I don't think it was a Steinberger. I forget what it is, but it wasn't a Steinberger. No, it was something. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, get on with the story. There was this white one hung there, and I remember it was just hung there for ages, and we'd play it, and it was just great. It was a good guitar. The sunburst one was better, definitely, but this one was a good guitar. And I remember a guy came in one day, because I was like, I really want it, you know. Yeah, I'm sure if I tweaked it, I could love it. And I was like, it's a Gibson. There's no way I'm going to be able to afford it. It's going to be about $1,000, something like that. You know, it had a hard case with it. It was in really good condition. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to afford it. And I remember talking to John, who worked there at the time with me, and we were saying, yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of a bit out of my price range, and this, that, and the other. Anyway, it was a commission sale, so we didn't actually know what the guy who owned it wanted for the guitar. So it was just there for sale. Anyway, so I just thought, it's a Gibson, it's going to be in the thousands, I can't afford it. Put it out of my mind. I'll play it as much as I can, and I'll just, you know, whatever. Guy came in one day and he goes, oh, white Firebird, how much do you want for that? And I was like, oh, I don't know, I'll have to ring the owner. And I think John rang the owner of the guitar, and he wanted £400 for it. And the guy immediately said, yeah, sold. And I was like, but I could afford that. And that's why you should always ask. And I missed out on it. I could have bought that guitar, and I didn't buy it, and that's still a sore spot for me. But it was, I really love the way the reverse Firebirds look. They're big and they're massive and they're really weird and they're quite awkward to play, but they're so cool. They're so cool, and I really want one. I really like Explorers as well, but I think I would prefer a Firebird more, the reverse Firebird. But maybe one day I'll have to afford one, but you know, they're so expensive. But yeah, so that one passed me by, and unfortunately the other one was about $1,500, so I couldn't afford that one, definitely not. But I like Firebirds, and I say I like Firebirds because of Johnny Winter. You know, I don't like Firebirds because of any other guitarist who uses them. I like them because Johnny Winter played them, especially the white one. I remember I swear there's a version of Jumping Jack Flash on YouTube where Johnny Winter's got big beard. He's got a top hat and he's playing his white Firebird doing Jumping Jack Flash. I could be wrong with that one. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that's there. And I'm pretty sure that was the version that made me go, oh, that's amazing. And there's the Old Grey Whistle Test, didn't there? I'm going to have to look people with YouTube. But he played a Jumping Jack Flash and Old Grey Whistle Test on a Firebird, but I'm not sure if that's... I'm going to have to be careful there because I don't want to get copyright. Yeah, the version of it's more cream actually, but the version of Old Grey Whistle Test, he's got his white Firebird there, and that's really cool. Let me just check that other version. I swear there's that other version of him where he's got a top hat on and he's using his white one. Another version there, and he looks so cool in that Old Grey Whistle Test footage because he's got a kind of like black top on with like the red dangly bits, and it's just looks really... Yes. I was Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo actually. Sorry, he's playing Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, and it's he's got a beard and he's got his black top hat on. And he's playing his white Firebird there, but it's so cool. I always preferred his look of his white Firebird, well, cream technically, to his Sunburst one. But he did seem to favour the Sunburst one over the white one. The white one got used a lot, but not as much as the Sunburst one. And then he got that headless guitar, which got used even more, I think, than that, which is a weird looking thing. But anyway. Love Johnny Winter, love Firebirds, reverse Firebirds. Non-reverse are cool. And we had an amazing one in Old Hat with 3 P90s. I think it had 3 P90s. I could be remembering that wrong. But I demoed that one as well, and that was an amazing guitar. It had the Walrus Tooth Tremolo arm on it, and it was just so good. But the mini humbuckers of the reverse Firebirds, awesome. And again, it's all because of Johnny Winter. They just sound so cool and they look cool, especially white ones. So cool. Anyway, but yeah, I do love Firebirds. Love Johnny Winter. How can you not? Man's a genius. He really was. Anyway, I love the way he was as well. He's kind of a bit strange, but I kind of like that because, you know, strange is good. Anyway, yeah, so that's the last question, people tube. So if you want to submit a question for A&Q Wednesday, description box below has an email link. Email me there. And I'll see you again on Friday for another vid. Yeah, have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. And yes, goodbye now. Thank you very much indeed for watching.